All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GnM Podcast. It'd be better if they could hear it, but okay.
They're just gonna have to imagine it.
That's right. As long as they can imagine an upbeat tempo, then we'll be fine.
Yep.
That's right. All right. So today we are going to be talking about a topic that everyone has probably experienced in some form or another, and that is narcissism. So narcissism weaves its ugly face into most relationships, I would say. Most aspects of life, to be honest. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and everyone's looking out for themselves, right?
Yep.
So it's prevalent. So narcissism is a mental condition in which people have, an unreasonably high sense of self-confidence or self-importance, and basically view themselves almost as a god, I would say.
Would you say there's different scales of narcissism?
I would say so. I mean, I think for somebody to be a full-on narcissist, I don't think that they could even have a conversation about narcissists. I don't think they could even say or admit that they are one, right?
Yeah.
So,
being a narcissist, how can you?
how can you?
Yeah. Well,
Right.
Before we say that, what is the definition of a narcissism?
Well,
No, you pretty much kind of said it right there, right?
we talked a little bit about it, but there's a lot of traits, right, that
Yeah.
they can display or that they basically just are. And they seek attention, admiration. But the big key of narcissism is that they have a lack of ability to understand or care about anybody else, right? Everything is about them, and they may put on a false show or a false pretense of what they actually are, but at the end of the day, narcissists only care about themselves.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, have you experienced any sort of narcissism before?
I have.
Okay.
I do. Or I have experienced it.
Okay.
And then narcissism, experiencing it also makes me question if I have it in me.
That's really interesting because narcissism, I think, breeds narcissism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe I can't say for sure. No, there's probably some possibility that now that becomes, is it genetic or is it environmental? Surrounding, right? Being that let's say that whoever breeds narcissism, it'd be a parent to a child, typically, right? Could be other forms of doing it, right?
Right.
But pretty much an influential person doing it, just somebody they're influencing, right?
For sure. I would say that I don't know, obviously I don't know all the information on it, but environment would be huge. Environment and your connection to whoever's closest to you, right? The issue is if you don't get unconditional love as a child, then like children are naturally narcissists. All right.
Okay.
So they need that attention, right? When you're a small child, everything is about you, right?
Yeah.
And that's fair. They've done studies where if babies aren't given the attention and the love from a mother or a parent or an adult, they end up dying. They need that. So maybe it's harsh to say, okay, every child or every toddler or baby is a narcissist, but they need that attention, and their world is only them at the moment, right? It's not until you develop some sort of identity with regard to the community that you're in or the family unit that you're in that you start to recognize, hey, I'm not the only person that matters, right? I'm not the only person in this situation that matters. So a mother needs to give and a father needs to give or try their best to give unconditional love to their children.
And if that's where you said, earlier there, narcissists breed narcissists.
Yeah.
Is that where you think if you had a narcissistic parent,
Correct.
that is going to make it very likely that there'll be a narcissistic child?
Correct.
Or they'll be narcissistic because that they'll never get that love?
Correct. Yeah. But I also think that it applies not only to parents, but also to cultures or groups, or, well, I'll go so far as to say religious groups as well, right? I think a lot of religious groups have very narcissistic traits about them in order to keep their followers in line.
Now, would that, because that group, that religious group, does that attract those people to positions of power within that religious group?
I think it attracts, I don't want to say thoughtless people, but I want to say people who don't want to put in work to critically think. For example, many people are out there and they just want to be told what to do. You know, like, I'm a sheep, tell me what to do, tell me how to work, tell me how to live, and if you're giving me a reward, then perfect, right? But then there's some where it's like, no, I want to question things. Like, okay, if I'm a sheep and I'm following this direction, why is it this direction? Why couldn't it be this way? Or why couldn't it be that way? Why am I doing this if this isn't that logical to me, right? But then I do believe there's a large percentage of the population that do just want to be sheep, that just need something in their life to tell them what to do or how to do it or how to go about when to do it and all those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're saying like that's why those groups are so prone to having narcissists leading them?
I think they have... Oh, I understand what you're saying.
Like, where does the narcissist fall in that?
I think it falls into the person who wants the power, right?
Okay, yes,
Yeah, person who wants the power and the glory and the honor, and they want everything to be good about them, right? Everything to be good about their name. Now, I was listening to a not a podcast, but it was just a YouTube channel. I'm probably going to get his name wrong, which I know he hates. Sam Vatkin, I believe it is. I'll probably have to double check that. We'll probably have to put the right spelling in the chat. But anyways, he was saying that narcissists have to resort to being their own mother. Okay, so when a narcissist is developing, they almost need to be their own mother. And what ends up happening is that does sound better, yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's good. It's all good. What ends up happening is they latch onto somebody and they love bomb them, right? They actually give them a false sense of unconditional love, yet, and it's great. Like, that's why there's people out there that are attracted to narcissists, and it's like, oh, because they make them feel so special, right? Like, a narcissist, they have to become their own mother, and in turn, they've got that motherly instinct, so that when they get into a relationship, then they start love bombing the person, and they start showing them this unconditional love that their partner thinks is unconditional, but at the end of the day, it's just a fantasy, and it is conditional, because a narcissist will only love you unconditionally until they're not loved unconditionally, right? They need to feel that love because they're the most important in the room. They need to feel that the other person admires them, that they know how great they are, and yada, 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 all this. And what ends up happening is they love bomb them, they do all this, they make them feel so special, and then a narcissist, because they only care about themselves at the end of the day, they walk away. Now, the issue is that, like I said, and these aren't my ideas, but narcissist breeds narcissists in the sense where if in that relationship, after that narcissist has left, the partner is left to pick up the pieces. And now the partner is feeling guilty because, oh, that person left me. Why did that person leave me? And they almost become narcissistic in their traits. They almost become like a mother to that person that left them. And they're saying, why didn't this person stay? Should I be concerned about them? Should I do this? Should I do that? So,
sorry, can I stop you?
Yeah,
the person that's picking up the pieces,
mm-hmm.
they're probably not going to be a narcissist. They could be either one, but probably not a narcissist.
Perhaps not, but it's likely that, like as I said, narcissism breeds narcissism, right?
Yeah,
like it's
even in adulthood.
In adulthood, for sure. You get these traits that from narcissistic behaviors that you pick up from that person that you're in a relationship with, or maybe that authority that you're under. For instance, if we look at some of the traits, and sorry, I don't mean to hijack the conversation, but I usually do that anyway, right? Sorry. We were just thinking about some of the traits that we had jotted down for narcissists.
So, before we go through the traits,
sure.
Like what I was just talking to you earlier about, yeah, I think I actually, like when I went on that couple dates with that person, I didn't pick up on a lot of it, but now I realize it. She did a lot of that stuff. I'm like, what the heck? I was like stunned. Like, why are you?
Right.
That love bombing and stuff like that. And then when it's kind of like, okay, we decided it wasn't going to go any further. It was kind of some weird stuff what she was saying to me. I can't recall all of it,
right.
But leading up into those dates, like I thought she wasn't too bad, but then it was kind of like at the end there, it's like, holy shit, what's going on here? It's all about her type thing.
Yeah.
Like, and actually,
manipulative.
And it was like me, like I was the cause of all this stuff here. I'm like, this is like the third or fourth day. I'm like, okay, let's maybe settle down here, right? Let's just say it didn't end well. Right. I should have picked up on stuff earlier. Like, I'm no expert on it.
Yeah, well.
Anyways, but yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sometimes we don't pick up on stuff, or else we choose to ignore it, and no fault. And the thing is okay. Here's what I learned too in that from listening to Sam. See, I should have got the name written down, but I didn't. Sam Acton, I think. Sure, thanks. Is that it's nobody's fault, because how does one resist unconditional love? Like, that's exactly what we want.
Vaknin. Vaknin.
Vaknin.
N-I-N.
Okay, Sam Vaknin. I apologize for if I pronounced it wrong there. Perfect. So, anyways, he was saying that it's nobody's fault, because everyone wants that unconditional love, right? And that's exactly what the narcissist is offering right at the beginning. And that unconditional love to you, right? That love bombing, that's how they draw you in, right? And like they make you feel so special, and then they leave, right? So, but who can resist it? Like, who can resist that feeling of unconditional love? Like, that's exactly what we want as a child, and that's exactly what we want as an adult, is we don't want to have conditions placed on the love that, we receive from somebody. But just saying, like, it's really nobody's fault. It's just years and years and years of programming and
to feel accepted.
Yes. Absolutely. So, it's so.
Well, besides,
it's interesting.
Yeah, because you dealt with that. That's what you think, like where you dealt with it in your experience with religion, there, right?
Mm-hmm. But perhaps, do you want to talk about maybe some other aspects that maybe you've experienced?
Actually, yeah. So, because I've talked to people about that too. Like, we're going back to thinking, like, am I a narcissist? Now, this will lead to a whole bunch of different questions now, or topic. Number one thing, I think we may have said it earlier. Does a narcissist know when they're a narcissist? Or can they question a narcissist?
No.
So that's what somebody told me.
Yeah.
As soon as I said it, sometimes I think I might be a narcissist. Like, well, the fact that you said that probably makes it unlikely, right?
I've heard that a lot too.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you don't have narcissistic traits.
Exactly, yes. And that's where you can have narcissistic traits. And then that's where I probably said it too early, but I was saying that's where, do we have a scale of narcissism? Do we have a threshold where we say, yeah, you're a narcissist? let's say some line or some threshold,
Right.
and then depending what side of that threshold you're on, you're either a narcissist or you're non-narcissistic.
Right.
But you can still have narcissistic traits without being a narcissist.
And this is a tough one too, because there's so many, I don't want to say defects, but just personalities that are all kind of cluster B. Like they're all like narcissism and bipolar, like split personality, like, borderline personality, like all these things. Like, we got to realize nobody's perfect.
Well, we see stuff like, I don't even know the definition anymore between the two, psychopath and sociopath.
Right.
I look up and it's like, oh, it makes sense, and I forget 5 minutes later.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot out there. And, but I guess at the end of the day, it's just trying to recognize what kind of negative traits you're putting out there to yourself, and to others, and then trying to correct them, right?
So exactly. So that's where you can get the positive in trying to, like you said, find out those traits in you and improve yourself on them, right? Recognize them in you and see what you can do to improve yourself so you're a better person to other people.
That's right. Yeah.
Yourself and to other people.
Yeah,
right?
it's huge. Yeah.
Because I look at these traits. Let's go over these traits.
Sure.
You know what? Let's go over these traits that we got from the internet.
Sure.
Great source. Google.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, why not, right? I mean.
Yeah.
Anyways, so preoccupation of power, success, or beauty. Well, is that a positive trait to have? If you ask a narcissist, probably.
Yeah.
If you ask somebody that's very ambitious, well, see now do we make power a negative thing, right?
I think it's all perspective, right?
It is perspective. So there's that. So I'm going to say that's kind of neutral on that, because beauty or success, there's nothing wrong with success. And you know what? I'll say we got problems with people trying to be too beautiful or whatever. You know what? If you want to make yourself look good, do it, right? I sure as hell do a bad job myself myself, but maybe I should be better on that.
Say anything,
See, now I feel you see, maybe that's how I know I don't have narcissism, or else I think I'm good looking, even though I'm not.
That's right.
So now, next one though, this one I could definitely see. We definitely see this as a negative, and that's being entitled.
Oh, it's
What
so
would
prevalent.
how would you
so prevalent, I should say.
How would you define your definition of entitled? And I mean, I have a pretty straightforward one myself.
Yeah, maybe. Well, let's hear yours.
Oh, it's thinking that the world owes you everything.
Oh,
And that's just very general term.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's really good. Yeah.
You know what? I'm entitled to this. Like we all know. Like you know, what? It's another sense of being I'm privileged to this.
Right.
That's a privilege. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. It's pretty straightforward. I don't have to wait in line. I shouldn't have to wait in line.
Right.
Right. Something like that.
Undeserved praise.
Okay.
Entitlement. Undeserved.
Sounds better than mine.
Well,
more
no,
sophisticated.
just it's undeserved, and praise maybe isn't even the right word, but just unaccredited or undeserved praise and worthiness.
Okay, really? Okay, no, you're right. Yeah,
That's
in
to
a
work
different
at
sense.
things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, life isn't peaches and cream, and
Sounds way better.
it's not. No, it's not. It's
It sounds a lot.
It's but you see it so often and so prevalent that it's as a teacher I see it quite regularly. It also depends on the community too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you consider potentially maybe a richer neighborhood, let's say, $1 million houses, things like that, the kid gets everything they want. Obviously, they're going to be a little bit more entitled. Right? Now, you take somebody perhaps less well off, right? They're not as entitled, but they can be entitled in different ways too.
I'm just gonna stray off the course, just a little bit before come back to this.
Sure.
I just thought that's another way. Let's go to that rich kid example.
Mm-hmm.
There. Let's say you have two loving parents giving unconditional love to a single child or their kids. Let's just say single child for this scenario. Can that child grow up as a narcissist just due to what they got because they got everything?
Oh yeah, I would think so.
And they kind of became a narcissist in
Yeah.
a different way, and that's because they became very entitled. And all
Right.
that stuff.
Yeah. It's
We
not.
see that, right?
Yeah. For sure.
Okay, so that's kind of another different way you can have that. So there might be more than one way to become narcissistic,
I think so.
or past that narcissistic threshold.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The narcissistic
Sorry,
threshold I made up, but
I'm sorry if I kind of gave off that impression that a narcissist only
no.
happens. Yeah.
No, that's probably the most common. Well, that's probably the most untalked about way. We always think about the entitled and all that stuff. When we talk about narcissism,
Yeah.
we never talk about the behind the scenes stuff, right?
Right. Yeah.
Between people we know.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Well, you got to think it's like attracts like, and if you're with a narcissist and attracted to a narcissist, soon enough you're going to pick up on those traits, right?
Yeah.
And then there's going to be arguments back and forth, and it's it's kind of bound to happen. And another point.
That'd be a positive feedback loop.
Sorry, say it again.
Would that be a positive feedback loop? I want to sound smart.
Maybe a negative feedback. I don't know.
Well, probably a negative feedback loop in our sense of it being not good, but I think a positive feedback. No, you don't. We won't go there. I think I might be using that wrong.
I was going to say something too that it's like I don't know if I should say it because it kind of opens up a whole nother topic, but I'll just touch on it. And in that sense, a lot of people will say, let's say. We use we'll use a far too common experience that shouldn't be common, but it is let's say there's a relationship between a man and a woman, and the man is a narcissist and he's an abusive narcissist. All right. And you've got the woman's friend saying, hey, leave him. Like, why are you still with him? Why this, why that? Why haven't you left him yet? Well, another thing that Sam Vaknin said was that when you ask a narcissist, or when you ask somebody to leave a narcissist, what you're asking is for them to leave themselves.
Yeah.
Like you actually have to leave the only thing you know. Like you have to leave yourself, as in it's the only person I know. And we can talk about that a little bit later, or maybe on a different episode. But I was thinking about this with regard to, and I know we're going off topic here, but I was thinking about this with regard to my former religion. And it's like, in order for me to be an authentic self, I have to literally let that old self die. Like and maybe the word die is too literal. I don't mean obviously to die. What I mean is that whole person that I knew that had XYZ beliefs and had this pressure to be perfect, or this pressure to be selfless, this pressure to be self-serving, never putting myself or my interests first, always serving others, always worried about what others thought of me, right? I had quotas to reach. I had to put in X amount of time for this and that, or to serve the congregation and to do all these things. Now that I'm a couple years removed, I still see those effects. Like I still struggle with that. And in fact, my relationships have all diminished, I will say, and have actually all taken a toll because of that. Because I feel like I still haven't found my authentic self. And in the process of doing that, feeling so guilty about past mistakes, and believe me, I've made a ton of really bad mistakes and really poor choices, but having that influence of like the narcissistic influence on that upbringing of mine, and on even into my adult years, I feel like I've never even processed life as an authentic adult. And when I say that, I mean as a person who still hasn't been under that influence of the religion.
Okay.
And of their rules and regulations. And now I'm not saying that there's there's good in every religion, in my opinion. I think there's good principles and things like the Bible. The Bible has good principles, I would say. Like, you know, there's a lot of weird things in the Bible, I'd say, but there's, you know, there's good principles. Like, let's say if anyone is an avid Bible reader, the book of Proverbs has many different pieces of advice. Like, oh, there's wisdom in seeking the counsel of older men, you know. It's always good to count the costs before you do something, you know. Do not steal, right? Like, things like that. Like, those are good principles. So I'm not taking away from that, but it's all of the behind the scenes control that really affects your whole outlook, and in turn can really mess you up.
And you know, and that's where that's going to, it's not like the Bible itself or religion. Mm-hmm. It's the people attracted to certain positions.
Right.
We'll just make it general, say the two positions, like you're mentioning, the people that just don't want to, people like me that don't want to critically think, and we just want to be told what we do and make things happen. No, I'm joking. I don't know where I fall on that, but then you get the people that are looking for that power.
Right.
And that's where you get those people in those certain positions, right?
Yep. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I was in a moderate place of power, I would say, within the religion. Nothing special for anybody watching who's familiar with Jehovah's Witnesses. I was a ministerial servant, but I remember thinking, like, I would write up talks, I would write up parts for the meetings, and I felt like they had to be perfect. Like, I felt like I was being scrutinized. I felt like but I also could feel myself wanting the praise after, let's say, giving a talk, like after giving a sermon or however you want to call it. They were called talks in my religion, but like it's almost like I wrote it thinking, okay, I'm going to put my heart and soul into this, but I really want praise after it. But I know when I get praise that I'm just going to have to direct it back to the organization.
You know? Oh, like you say, okay, good job out there, Dylan.
Right. And then I would say, oh, thanks. It was a great outline provided to me by the organization. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, it's not my words. It's you know, it's God's words. Right.
Were you instructed to kind of do that? Or were you brought up to kind of, okay.
Absolutely. You'd see that. You'd see videos of that. You'd see people demonstrating that thing. So it was never, it's almost subtle. It was almost subtle in the sense, like, be humble, but be humble and give praise to the organization. And in turn, it's like you realize once you step out of it and step back, it's like, oh, these guys just wanted praise. Like, these guys wanted the praise.
Yeah, people up in
the people, yeah,
power.
And
the power.
Yeah, in power positions, right? And then it also comes, I mean, there's a lot of discussions to talk, but I mean, even with regards to money, like, it was never, it's not a tithing, it's all voluntary basis, right?
Yeah.
But when, let's say, somebody special comes, or when, I don't know, maybe something unforeseen came, it was always make sure, we donate the appropriate amounts for X, Y, and Z, and any resolutions that even needed to be passed where, let's say, they increase the amount of donations going to the branch offices or the head offices. It was always like, oh, we got to vote on this, but you knew full well that, like, you had to vote for. Like, if you voted against, it was like a room full of 100 people that would glare at you, judging you. Like, you'd probably get talked to after.
So you're like in the Soviet Union when you're voting for the one party.
Yeah, kind of. It's like there's no other choice. Right? Yeah, exactly. So we can vote, democracy. But we're gonna do this anyways. Like, it's like, but we have to vote so that it looks like it. But anyways, that's all it is. Is just it's a lot of programming that, at a very young age, if you see it, it stays with you, right? I feel like there's a lot of traits that we'll go through here pretty soon that I feel like I demonstrate, and I can almost well, we'll try to today, but I bet you I could probably take these and relate them back into what I learned.
So actually, this one I'm going to ask you because this one I know does not apply. Like for me, I can't think of a time it has applied to me.
Sure.
So for a narcissistic trait, can only be around people who are important or special. So,
like the narcissist can only be around people
yes,
that are important and special?
That's a trait. Now, could you put that, did you ever have that? I'm going to ask you on this. Just made me think of it with the Jehovah's Witness. Within the Jehovah's Witness community, did you ever feel that? I shouldn't say that. That's
no, that's fine. I think like there were annual conventions that we'd go to, and we'd have like, let's say a person from the branch or like from the headquarters come, and it was almost like you treat them like a celebrity.
Yep.
Now, of course, there would be things that would say, oh, they're no different than any one of us, but you knew full well that like there was special treatment going to them. So I think maybe people who have that trait want to be surrounded by special people, but they got to make sure they're the most special in the room.
So, and I should have said it more directed towards you. And I guess I was asking you, but now the people that probably did apply to, the people in power, let's just be open about it where we are Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
The people within the community for Jehovah's Witness, the top people, leaders.
Yeah.
Did they display that being around special people, important special people? Was it kind of a clique?
It was maybe subtly. I mean, I don't want to personally attack any of them that are like, again, I've gotten to a point now in my life where I'm empathetic for people in that religion, because they're just wanting to feel love.
Yeah.
Like then this is the only way they can feel validated and loved. Now maybe, like, I mean,
the top people,
I don't,
the leaders.
Yeah, I think there was a certain sense of we're elders and there's private matters to discuss, and like we can only discuss them amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that evident. As I said, I think there's a lot of it that's subtle, or a lot of it that's hidden in how they reflect outwardly, right? But again, I mean, at the end of the day, they're just human beings, and they're just trying to feel loved or important whatever way they can, and sometimes they don't know like they don't know what they're in, or they don't, I know when I was disfellowshipped, I was asked some pretty personal questions, and I mean, yeah, they were none of my business, or none of their business, but they justified them by saying, well, we needed to know your attitude, we needed to know your, if you were repentant or not. I guess I'm kind of getting sidetracked here, but I feel like maybe some of them in a position of power let it go to their heads a little bit. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
Okay. I guess that's kind of the only thing I can say about it is, there's probably a lot more to that, but I would say some of them are probably pretty genuine and pretty humble, and just in a position where,
and that's all they know.
Yeah, that's all they know, and they try their best. And then I think you do definitely have the ones that are like, I'm in this position because I want to be.
I'm in it to win it.
Yeah, because like I want the power, I want to know everybody's business, I want to have a certain level of control over these people, and it's going to make me feel good about my own pathetic life, right? Which I shouldn't say pathetic, but sometimes it gets to the point where if that's what you're living for, and you can't take a step back and say, wow, I'm feeling better about myself because I'm able to discipline people for being human. You know, that's pretty low in my opinion.
Sounds like a fun person to be around.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So yeah, that's where I was going. And that's just, I know I'm picking on, I shouldn't pick on just one. Because, you know, you'll find it in all aspects of life.
Oh, it's, yeah, I mean, I think it's easy for me to talk about, but yeah, it's,
I was just picking on that because from your own experience.
For sure.
Because you know what, I've, like most people, we've experienced in our jobs, whatever.
Yeah.
Probably, I guess jobs are the best example.
Yeah.
Well, no, you could have it in club, like let's say sports team. No, you could definitely have it in a sports team.
You could have clubs or something like
in
that.
In every aspect of it. But yeah, for sure. I just want to use that.
Yeah.
I ask you what you thought of that, if you noticed that. So now, this next one, next trait, arrogant.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of actually that's probably one of the most common traits about what we perceive as a narcissist. Most people probably think as a narcissist is arrogant, right?
Is arrogant and prideful.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between pride and like prideful arrogance. Do you know what I mean? Like like let's say I'm proud that we took the steps into starting this podcast. I don't know how many people it's reaching.
Proud, arrogant son.
Yeah. How dare you?
Yeah. No. Okay.
But that's, you know, like I'm proud of it. I'm proud that I, you know, went to university and got a degree. There's certain levels, and I'm sure you're proud of your accomplishments too, right?
My few and far in between accomplishments.
Yeah, you got a lot more than that. That's for sure.
Quit
being so humble.
I should probably go to university and improve my English. It's number one. That'd be one something I would be proud of.
I went there and I still don't know how to speak it for. Okay, well let's just move on. Anyway.
Okay, so yeah, that's pretty straight. Well, no, actually, what's it? No, just give me an example of prideful arrogance. Arrogantly prideful.
Arrogantly prideful?
Yeah.
Okay. When I would give a talk, in my former religion, and I knew that I rocked it, like I knew like if I put 30 hours in and I made like good illustrations and I like applied the points from the outline and like the scriptures and things like that. Like when I knew I did a good job in my head, like, and I delivered it and it went well and like people would come up and say, hey, good talk. I knew full well in my head that I had to say, oh, it was a good outline. But I was so proud and I was arrogant inside. I didn't display it outside, but I was like, yeah, you're damn right it was a good talk because I kicked ass. Is that
I don't think that's bad, actually.
You don't think so?
No.
But I didn't want to give the credit to the outline. I didn't want to give the credit to anybody else. So in that sense, I think it was arrogant.
No, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
It was.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
It was like.
Well, did anyone help you with it? Well, no. Okay, sure. That works.
Like I didn't. And it's a flaw. Like I was flawed, and you know, I mean, but I didn't want to give other people the credit when I knew, like, that I did it. You know, my dad helped me a lot on a lot of them. I'd run a lot of stuff by him. I think he's crazy smart, and you know, he used to do with them before as well. And so, but anyways, so I would obviously thank him. But with regard to you know, the whole thing in general after it was done and given, I think that was arrogance of me, right? It was, but I don't know how arrogant of a person I've really been.
I don't. You know what? I'll be straight up honest. I think you're very no, straight up honesty. You're one of the least arrogant people I've ever met.
Okay,
like,
well, that's good.
Like I wouldn't even think of it, right?
Yeah. I feel like, do you remember when we played hockey together? Was Ryan arrogant? I feel like Ryan was arrogant.
Maybe just a tad.
Just a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, we've all experienced an arrogant person, and we've all.
And I've had my moments too.
I have too. Absolutely, right?
I thought I was better than all the rest. And,
Yeah. Okay, well, let me ask you this one. What about perfection? Are you a perfectionist?
You know, I can be in some sense. You know what? Yes. Now,
Okay.
perfectionism is like, what am I perfectionist in? Well, there's some things I just have to do it right. I don't know if it's perfectionism or whatever, but I just got to do it. Like, I had to make it happen. I can't be disturbed. I got to make it happen when I'm focused. I'm focused.
Yeah.
Would that be perfection? No, that's not really. It could be, but there is some things like some jobs when I'm very dedicated to them.
Yeah.
I can't leave them bad. I don't think I'm a true perfectionist in this sense because I've actually met. Actually, that's another story for another time. I've met people that are actually more truly perfectionists, like
Than yourself.
to me, than
Yeah.
myself. But yeah, I can't really say if I am.
Do you feel like your life has to be perfect before you do something?
You know what? Actually, I'll actually say, once upon a time, yes, in a sense that I needed to do anything. I needed to convince myself to do anything. The stars needed to line up for me to do it. In other words, I just made excuses for myself. This is why I can't do this, that. Oh, I can't push that weight today because I might get injured myself, or I'm too scared. I might whatever. No, just gotta do it.
Right.
Oh, I can't do this task or whatever. No, for this reason that, or I could do it tomorrow. I was bad for doing that.
Okay.
I've improved greatly on that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, maybe I don't think that answers the perfection.
No, this is good. It's really good.
I don't know if, in that sense, I need the stars to line up to do something, to convince myself. In other words, I made excuses, a lot of excuses.
Right.
One thing
We all do, though.
I'll be prideful, arrogant about myself.
Yeah.
I will say is that's something in the last probably good 5 years, I've cut down on.
Okay.
Saying no more excuses, just do it.
Yeah.
Nike,
Well, I mean,
just
I
do
think
it.
this is an example of it. Just. Oh, wait, are you being sponsored by Nike? Or?
This is
Yeah,
Under
that's right.
yeah, sure.
You are the wrong shirt for that
What's
one.
Under Armour slogan? No, but that's just something to improve. Like I think actually a lot of people
Right.
can relate to that, right?
Oh,
Make
absolutely.
excuses, right?
Absolutely.
But there are people I do know I have met that they might actually display other narcissistic traits. I will say that,
Right.
Honestly. And that's one of the things I do notice. It's got to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
For them, they got to be perfect. Everything's got to be perfect, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if that I've experienced it myself, that crazy amount. Like maybe we all to a degree. Once again, we all have traits of something, right?
Yeah.
Little amounts here and there, but yeah.
I see.
How about you?
Yeah, I definitely have displayed it before. I've displayed it in my carpentry work, and probably a lot of people would disagree with me, but
No, I think that's good though. I think there's sometimes you want to be good. Like I know you don't want to drive yourself crazy with OCD or whatever. I don't know if it's the same as, well, it could be the same as,
I've had a lot of people be like, why can't you just leave that? And I'm like, I can't leave that. Like, I'll see it, or I'll, like, it doesn't look good.
it's a balancing act.
But I think too is I get caught up in the same sense as what you said, right? Like everything, the stars have to align, everything's got to be perfect. But I'm trying to really come out of my shell with that. And Jordan Peterson, brilliant. He said, I just saw a clip of him the other day, and he said that you just become stagnant when you don't take risks. And he said sometimes you have to move away from the known to the unknown to grow, right? And he actually used the example of Abraham. Abraham in the Bible, he had to go into the city of, I think it was Ur. I could be wrong about that. It's been a long time since I've read the passage. But anyways, he had to take his wife, and he had to go into this unknown city and, start basically a whole new life, and went from like royalty to rags, like from riches to rags.
Okay, yeah.
And it's like, but that grew him. Like, so anyways, that's a far way away from narcissism. But the point is that we get sometimes so wrapped up in that perfectionism, I should say.
Yeah.
and that we don't take any risks, or we don't try anything, because everything's got to be perfect, and life isn't perfect. I'll tell you that much, right?
Yes.
It's all over the map. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Don't ask me about the next one.
No, so
No,
I'll say
ask-
perfectionism.
No, you can ask me about the next one. It's
And
I'll be pretty vulnerable with the next one.
the end off on perfectionism. It shows you it's very broad, right? Like
Right.
what you consider and stuff like that, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
No,
super
there's
broad.
no there.
That's why I think, like you were talking about, a spectrum for narcissism, and it's like, well, we can all display narcissistic traits one way or another, right? Now,
I
if
can
we're like,
sometimes show flashes of brilliance, right?
you're right.
Doesn't mean I'm a brilliant guy. So okay, yeah.
Well, I'm nowhere near brilliant, so I mean, we got a lot of learning left to do in order to.
Yeah.
I hope we get some comments. Actually, that's what I would really love. I'd love one comment, make my day. Even if it was like, "Hey, you guys suck." Be like, "Hey, somebody listened."
We have a video up from 14 years ago. No, 13, 16 years ago. We made that video. Now
Yeah,
it's out there on YouTube.
it is. Yeah,
We had
and it's
blank
like it's over
comments.
100,000 views.
Somebody, my brother would comment. He would fight back in those comments. Like, man.
I'm a fan forever, right? Wasn't that what it
Never
was?
fan, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so this next one.
Oh,
so this
boy.
kind of relates to perfectionism, though, in a way.
Yeah.
Yes and no. Well, it does. It relates, and a lot of this stuff relates to each other. But so control issues.
Oh,
Now, you know what? I will honestly say this
you
is
wanna go
something I'm
first?
bad with.
Okay. Because
I've
I'm gonna
had
be
to
really
do-
vulnerable for this one.
Okay, so for me, for example, in my job initially, and work, I was bad at relinquishing control
Okay.
of having other people do things.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe this is where actually I do display perfectionism as well, going back to that. Now I think about it. If somebody didn't do it, I thought they weren't doing it great, or they're doing it half ass, like just not that great of effort.
Right.
Then I'd had to fix it. Like I had told myself I had to fix it. When the reality was no, that's not the reality. I had to eventually just let go of that.
Yeah.
For two reasons. That person I'm giving it to, the way I did didn't mean I was always the best, right? There could be somebody that could do it better than me. There's that one. And the second one is, if the person that was doing this job or task wasn't doing as good as me, at the end of the day, I gotta let them do their job too.
Right.
Even if I'm the leader in that group or whatever,
Right.
at work. And in order for them to get better anyways, you kind of have to let them do their thing, and you help them out where you can, right? And
Yeah.
then you work. Everyone's different, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I've been bad at control issues.
Yeah.
So that I would say stuff like that. But that's one thing I've worked on
That's
greatly
good.
too over the
That's
last
good to work on.
5
for sure.
years. You'll start noticing when I say the last 5 years, you start catching on to something with me.
Yeah. Obviously, something happened.
Start like figuring like, hey, maybe I should start changing some things, right?
Yeah.
But so I would say control issues. I've definitely had that,
That's really good.
and I'm not saying I'm not clear of it now, but
Oh, I don't.
I'm
I
like
mean,
better
it's always a
at
fight,
just
right? We're always on this fine fight to be better men and be better people, and yeah. Well, I've got two for control. One is my children. So I've learned that, and I struggle with this. Maybe some parents out there struggle with this, but I feel like a lot of times I end up doing the work that they should be doing. A lot of parents clean up, right? Cleanup is something where our kids should be the ones cleaning up, but every parent will tell you out there, like, it's exhausting to try to keep a place clean with young children, right? And it's like, it's almost like, they're not going to do it right, and even cleaning up a mess, it's just going to make a bigger mess, and then all of a sudden you're doing it, and it's just like, no, I'll just do it. And for me, a couple aspects of this is I co-parent, so I'm 50-50, so week on, week off, and I feel I've got this feeling where it's like when they're here for my week, I need to do like everything that they want to do. I feel like I've got to make the most of my parenting, which isn't a bad thing to make the most of your parenting. You want to be a good parent, and anybody who's questioning whether or not they're a good parent, it means you're a good parent because you're actually questioning them. Just wanted to throw that out there for anybody who might be concerned about that. But anyways, I tend to let them do a lot of things and move on from things quickly. Like, let's say if they want to play outside, I might not have them clean up every single toy they took out outside before we head back inside, right? Or let's say my daughter, she loves to play with slime. So like every time she comes, she wants to make a new slime. Well, I've got a bag of slime over here that is probably 2 months old. And, every single time is new slime, new slime, new slime. And she says, well, it's not fun playing with the slime. It's fun making the slime. So, and the thing is though, is I've often caught myself where it's like, she'll take out all this stuff and I'll let her take out all the stuff from the pantry. She'll do it. Sometimes she'll clean it up. Other times she's left it and I've been the one to clean it up. So anyways, back to control issues. I've realized that if I've got to let go of my control in order for them to learn, right? Like they're not going to learn if they're never going to clean up. They're not going to learn that, hey, life isn't always about like getting to do the best thing, getting to do the most fun thing. For example, here's a good one from last week. I took the kids to the circus in Edmonton and I took them to the Space and Science Center. And we had a fantastic day. One of the best days.
Can I just stop you right there?
Sure, of course.
Why did you go all that distance to go to a circus? Why is a circus in here? Like, come on, man. No.
Well, the Edson Jamboree wasn't quite on yet, so couldn't bring her to see the circus people.
Well, I was referred to your house, but okay. Sorry.
No, that's good.
It's
good.
quite in here.
So, yeah, well, it's not that, but I mean.
No, it's right.
But anyways, I brought them to the circus. I brought them to the Space and Science Center to a Taylor Swift laser show. My daughter just absolutely loved it. We had a fantastic day. Movies were playing on the way there, movies playing on the way home. Nice talks, good meal together. The next day, my daughter is crying and telling her mother that we don't do anything fun at Dad's house. And I was like, oh, that is hard to hear. But then I'm like, wait a second, I'm instilling a sense of narcissism in my daughter. Like, and I can be vulnerable enough to say that it's like she feels entitled. She feels entitled that everything has to be right. Everything has to be fun. It always has to be fun. You always have to be doing something fun. And that's not life.
I think, yeah, you could say that too. One thing I also pick up there right away, she's showing actually intelligence. Like, that's pretty, like, she knows she can get more if she displays that, right?
That's right.
And you're right, though, that's narcissistic traits,
it is
right?
narcissistic traits.
It is.
And she's 7, right? Studies or research shows that most of the programming that goes into kids is most of the time downloaded from their mother. And their father obviously plays a big part in it, but 0 to 7 is the download.
Yeah, like your brain, it just absorbs everything. Everything.
Yeah. And so, anyways, just interesting to know. So that's one control issue that I know I have to let go of. Another has to do with relationships. So I don't know. Do you want to get into that one or?
Fire away.
Okay. So have you heard of retroactive jealousy?
I don't know if we were talking about it.
Okay.
Explain.
So retroactive jealousy is like, let's say I get into a new relationship or anybody gets into a new relationship and they ask their partner, what's your body count? Like what's your resume? Your sexual history and all that stuff, relationships, all that stuff. And then being jealous of all of those relationships or being jealous of what all that their new partner did or being jealous of what their other previous partners did with them, things like that. So that's retroactive jealousy. Now, go ahead.
Is that just in terms of sexual history, or is that also like, it might be not like I was a lawyer, like for a huge firm or something like that.
Oh, and I think it has to do with everything in a really broad sense, right? It's not just sexual history. It could be a lot of things, right? It could be in a previous relationship, maybe I got into a new relationship with a woman and
Traveled everywhere.
yeah, and
The
she
guy
says,
took me
yeah,
everywhere.
my ex and I, we traveled everywhere. We,
Yeah.
we did
He
this,
paid
and we
for
did
it,
that,
so
and we
yeah.
did that, and we did this, and of course, so a guy could say, wow, like I can't give you that, and end up being jealous of that. But what I've found, and I'll be pretty
I liked your
vulnerable
look
here.
there. That's like, wow, I can't give you that. It's like, oh boy,
yeah.
this is not going to go well.
Guess I'm walking away from this relationship.
Abandoned ship.
But I found that I hate giving up control after relationship. And if I'm being totally
Or like after your relationship's over?
After relationship
Okay.
is over.
Yep.
And if I'm being completely honest, I'm dealing with it right now. And what I end up seeing in myself is that I can't stand the thought of my previous partner being with somebody else.
Is there songs about that?
Oh, probably numerous. But it's like that's part of the control issue,
No,
right?
yeah.
It's like not knowing what they're doing or not knowing who they're going to be with, or
Interesting.
and even with regard to sex and things like that, I'm just like, my mind just races, and yeah, it's something I struggle with big time, and I don't understand why I can't just say, okay, like that was a chapter. They're a person, they're free to do whatever they want, and I mean, time heals everything, right? So time, eventually, as time goes by, it is what it is, right? But I'm not sure, right? And I like, that's just me being pretty vulnerable and saying that I definitely deal with some control issues there, and I'm looking to get to a spot where I don't feel like that.
And I'll say, I think a lot of people have that.
Okay.
I think it's typical. It's human nature.
Right.
Relationships, getting fired from a job, or
Thinking
bad
like
terms
what is going to happen now. Like it's like, I don't know. It's unknown, but maybe it's like, oh, I could have known. I could have stayed, or I could have done this, or I could have stayed at that job, and almost you're giving up.
Oh, well, yeah.
Or were you going in a different direction?
I was kind of going in a different direction, but I think I'd be going off topic. Well, no, probably not from what you're saying there, but it would be a different topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to commitment. How
So
about you
I think for
commitment?
this one, like, and what's saying as a trait for commitment is that narcissists can't keep commitments.
For sure.
I haven't experienced that myself with or like, I'm gonna assume I'm gonna say I'm a narcissist expert right now, so I can make this judgment call. No, but no, I haven't really experienced that with commitment. I think it doesn't matter if you're a narcissist or not. That just they could be good or not. Well, let's say a narcissist could be either they could commit, or oh no, I may be thinking too much in deep. I don't see it as a trait though for narcissism. Do you?
You do or you don't?
Don't. Not just to narcissism. They can either.
Yeah,
have it or
I think
can't.
I think it's general, and it's a lot more general. I think with regard to the reason why we wrote it down with regards to commitment is that I think they have a difficult time committing because when they don't get exactly what they want.
That's
right.
That's the one case I was gonna say, like you were saying earlier about the conditional love. That's definitely, I could say there, like you were saying there.
Right.
I could see that being applicable.
But then when you don't, like, let's say you're a narcissist that doesn't love themselves. I guess that's not possible, because narcissists do love themselves. They just love everything about themselves, right? Like they at least they love everything about their projected fantasy of themselves, right? Yeah. They don't want to see reality. They don't want to see all these negative traits about them, right? They refuse to see them. So, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm a person that struggles with commitment too, so maybe that's a whole other topic. So
one thing I should say of me too is for relationships,
yeah,
I've been pretty bad for that. For any general relationship,
it's hard. Like
when I talked to somebody from, was it high school a couple of years ago, I told you that story. about the reunion. And I got the message that I looked at. They actually sent me something for a 10-year reunion for high school.
Yeah.
And then I messaged them, like, I saw it a year later. I'm like, oh, somebody did actually ask me, invite me to that. Oh, man. It's like, when I talked to the guy, I was like, yeah, I thought you fell off the face of the earth. No, but why I brought that up was I was bad for a lot of things, right? Like, obviously, I didn't talk to you or a lot of other guys for probably a good 10 years.
Well, you get busy, right?
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, commitment. And that's where I'd say that could be anyone, right? You can have that trait. This one here, interesting. Pathological liar.
Yeah.
So, number one, I don't want to say, Dylan, have you ever lied?
Oh, for sure.
And then if you ask me if I ever lied. So, I like Jordan Peterson's answer once when somebody asked him that, a reporter. He's like, well, his response was, well, everyone lies.
Yeah.
Everyone's lied before.
Yeah.
So the one with the lies, so I'm like, okay, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, for sure.
The key thing for this year is obviously improving it. You don't want to do it because it comes bites you. At the end of the day, you just don't. It's not a good trait, right?
Well, the thing about that is that I think sometimes if you're a pathological liar, you tell yourselves those lies or you tell other people those lies in order to keep up that fantasy, your projected fantasy of yourself.
So that's what you think narcissists actually do.
I don't think that you want to see, as a narcissist, or even if you're not a narcissist, it's really hard for us to see the flaws in ourselves, right? It's really hard for us to like look in the mirror and say, hey, you have this flaw and you have this flaw and this flaw, and that's tough, right? It's a tough pill to swallow. So if you're in a spot where you're constantly just lying to yourself or lying to others to make yourself feel good or feel at that elevated level, then I guess that's what they do, right?
Yeah.
So
that's actually interesting you said that, because I was going to initially say, I thought narcissists can actually be straightforward and say, yeah, they'll tell you what they think. But you know what, now I think about it, no, that's not necessarily true.
No, they're very manipulative.
They're very manipulative. So I'd be totally wrong on that. So more often than not, what we call a narcissist, probably 95% of them would have that trait.
Yeah.
No, that's a random number. In other words, the majority would have that trait.
For sure.
All right. So that comes to our next one.
Is
manipulative.
Yeah, manipulative.
I can't even say it right now, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're as we talked about before, they show this perceived image of unconditional love to their partners or to their followers, and at the end of the day, it's just manipulative because they're only doing it so that they can get the same back. But that's not what unconditional love is, right? Like, unconditional love is like, hey, you screwed up, doesn't matter, I still love you. Like, it's, but conditional love is, hey, you screwed up, oh, you don't view the same thing that I do, or you don't believe in the same thing that I do, well, screw you. You're gone. It's like, as soon as you are against me, then you're out.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that's manipulation, and they do it with a certain number of traits, right? They can manipulate you with a certain number of traits.
So if you keep saying, the reason I'm bringing this up right now is okay. No, yeah, you're right on the manipulative and all that stuff. I was going to bring up something else here. I'll bring it up later there, though.
Okay.
No, yeah, so that kind of goes to that pathological liar and stuff like that, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
They use a pathological lie.
Yeah, for sure.
To be manipulative.
Well, and then they use control issues, or then they use perfectionism.
And they use, like you said, with that whole, and that's part of the next one we talked about already, love bombing, right?
Love bombing, yeah.
That they use all that together to get their end desired goal, whatever that goal is, if they even have one. And to love themselves is their goal.
And like we said, there's no victims. There's actually no victims in any of this, and we can get into that into another episode. But like, if you're with a narcissist, yeah, like, how do I say this in a tactful way? Like, if you're being abused, yeah, like, you're obviously a victim, right? But when I say there's no victims, like, everyone has choices, and like, everyone we'll dive into it in a different episode, but it's just, we're all screwed up. Like, we all are in this society and all in this world, and we're all under different influences, and like, nobody is a victim, in my opinion. But we'll get into it in a different way. I don't. Maybe you see things differently. I don't.
Yes and no.
Okay.
We could get into a different way. I would argue on some things, but I think I'd actually agree with you on a lot of things.
Okay.
We'll say people that think they're a victim are probably not a victim.
Right.
But there are probably, I'll say here from my point of view, or my own opinion is, I think there is actually truly victims of abuse. And
For
stuff.
sure. Yeah.
But that's its own little, its own area there. But I think I agree with you on everything else in the broad scheme of things.
In the broad,
there's a lot of people that are victimhood, we'll say.
That's right. Yeah, that are playing the victim and
playing the victim for sure.
Playing the victim, and then, but they'll also use horrible traits or aspects against their partner or against whoever's around them as well, right?
How we'll say that is, like how we'll say is, we got there's like actually people that have dealt with horrible stuff, deal with horrible stuff. But let's say then there's the other people that say that stuff, the victimhood in that.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. They're not victims.
Right. It's a touchy subject, and I mean,
maybe that's a problem. Victims probably lost its meaning now. And that's
I would
unfortunate
say-
to the people that have actually gone,
right.
dealt a pretty shitty hand. Right?
That's right.
Like,
That's right. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Is
So and then now these other people abuse it, victimhood, right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, even today we're seeing that. I mean, maybe I don't necessarily want to say the wrong thing here, but it's almost, if you speak out against, not even if you speak out against certain, I don't want to get in trouble here by saying the wrong thing, but almost when you stand up for what you believe is true, you almost get criticized. And I mean, but I guess that's what life is. I guess is just one big criticism of other people's beliefs and things like that. But you almost become a victim when you try to stand up for what you think is right and true, and if it's not the fad of the day, or if it's not like what society is saying, is acceptable, or this is the way you should do it, or this is the way you should view this, or you do have to follow this, and you do have to be completely inclusive of every Tom, Dick, and Harry's opinion, then all of a sudden it's like those people can play the victim if somebody stands out against them, right? I mean, okay, Jordan Peterson is a good example of this, right? Like Jordan Peterson's stance on things like teenagers mutilating themselves in sex changes, right? So he's talking or standing up against those things, yet he's being scrutinized for that, right? So, and he's being scrutinized by people who are claimed to be victims, and it's, I don't know, it's one of those things where it's touchy, right?
It's kind of like a surge to society, and it's happened throughout history.
Yeah.
A certain country, actually group of countries, let's say 1930, it's kind of funny they had a lot of that stuff going on, right? We'll just say, funny, we just don't learn from history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, if anyone's got half a brain, they can figure out what country I'm talking about.
That's right.
1930 to 1945,
right.
May.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Or no, 1933, I don't know. You get the idea.
Right.
You should know which country I'm talking about.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Right?
And that's just one example. There's actually many others.
Yeah.
We just know that one, right?
That's right. Yeah.
What happens when you don't speak, like when horrific things are happening, right? Like,
that's right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's tough. It's a hard world out there.
Or the Soviet Union too.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a great place either.
No.
Anyways, yeah.
No, a lot of bad things happen in history, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, a couple of these other ones here.
We kind of covered it. I think
we
with
did, yeah.
well, bombing. You say that word because I'll just butcher it.
Grandiosity.
Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. Like, look at me kind of thing.
Right. Attention seeking is obviously the same. Look at me.
As you start noticing, they become more and more abusive. And an interesting one here, dismissive of others' success. Well,
yeah, that's a really good one, actually. I guess you'd see that in your partners, right? If you were in a very narcissistic relationship, you want to be surrounded by people who can comfort you in your failures, but also rejoice in your successes. So if you're with somebody who you come home and you say, hey, I got a promotion at work, and they're not happy for you, right? They're not, joyful at it or supportive at it, then, they're dismissive of your success, right? Now, I'm not saying that you necessarily need that, because we should just be able to find everything that we need to feel good about ourselves inside, right? But that's a whole other topic as well. But if you are with somebody, you want them to celebrate your successes, and you want them to be supportive of your trials and or not, supportive in the sense that they're there to help you through trials and tribulations, right? So,
yeah.
But
that's good. I think we could wrap it up. But two things.
Yeah.
I think we could. Yeah, I think that's good. We can wrap it up. Two things.
Yeah.
Number one is, where did Narcissus come from? Is it the guy that looked? Is it the Greek guy that stared in the water, saw his own reflection, and then drowned? He was so amazed by his own reflection.
I don't know.
It might have been. That might be. I don't think it's vain.
Okay.
The reason I bring that up is because I notice myself looking all the time, like always looking at myself, make sure, okay, do I look kind of half decent? And that's why you always see me looking there. So there's me displaying that trait right there.
Okay.
So right there. Okay. Which one would that be here? I don't know. Probably that one right there.
Oh, that's just you're just arrogant and
yeah, that too.
Yeah.
And to wrap it up here, overall, these traits. I mean, we can go about like the narcissist. You can't. A narcissist is narcissist. They don't know what's going on. Like outside themselves, they can't comprehend.
Yeah, they're almost oblivious to it. Right?
Is there really anything you could do about that if you're an outsider? What makes it tough is living with those people, right?
So you can walk away, but that's the thing is when you decide to walk away from that, then you're deciding to end a part of your life. And if that person has made you, how do I put this into words? If that person's made you feel that you're only worthy of love in a certain way, or that you're this person because they've molded you to be that person, it's really hard to walk away, because all of a sudden you gotta ditch that person. Like, you've got to ditch that internal person. You've got to let go of everything that you were told you were, and what is it, like, damaged people help damage people, and it's like we're all damaged. And so, I mean, your question, if you're a narcissist, is there hope? Yeah, of course. There's
how can they know? They don't know. They can't comprehend.
They need to be self-aware. Yeah.
And can a narcissist be that self-aware?
No, but I'm sure that there are people who were former narcissists and they became self-aware, right? So, you'd think.
Okay, so that's where I'm under the impression that a narcissist is just like that for life.
Well, maybe it is like that.
But then once again, I am the expert on it. Right?
That's right.
Honestly, I don't know though.
Well, that's, maybe we can get a comment or somebody wanting to talk to us about that, because, yeah. But I think that was good. It's a good session, and we hope that you enjoyed it.
And going over all these traits for ourselves to be self-aware of is what can we do to make sure we improve on ourselves, not to display these.
For sure.
Because I think for the most part, these are all not the greatest ones to have.
Well, becoming self-aware and also recognizing that you aren't these traits.
That's
like,
true.
Let's say,
That's true. Don't label yourself.
I'm a perfectionist. No, you're not a perfectionist, but you display perfectionist traits. Are you checking yourself out again?
No. So the reason I'm wondering is, what the hell are you wearing? I come in here and you're dressed all nice. You just got some white t-shirt. So, and I was doing that other part too. I still felt, but
Hey, look, I threw on the
I
cleanest
just
shirt.
realized that now.
All right.
What episode? Sorry.
The
continue.
sleeves are a little short, actually. I was self-conscious about them.
Get
If
the
I had
tie
big,
down below, whatever.
yeah. Well, that's a V-neck.
V-neck, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
of course. Yeah. We can't all wear crew necks. Otherwise,
Is this a crew neck?
that's a crew neck. Yeah.
See, I don't even know that.
Well, you should know that. I mean,
This is probably bought at Winners or something.
I think this was a winner
6
too,
years
actually.
ago.
Oh,
No,
wow.
maybe not that long.
I've grown a lot in 6 years. I've become a little bit,
My once
Bigger.
a decade shopping spree.
once a decade, eh?
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
I can't remember, but anyways.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
you're
improving
saying
on these traits. You don't want to label yourself with these traits. Like
don't
you said.
label yourself as these
Don't
traits.
call
right?
yourself a perfectionist, right?
That's
Like,
right.
Yeah.
That's right. You can have perfectionist traits, but none of us are our emotions. None of us are our traits either. If you ask the question, who are you? That's a really deep and serious question that you want to think about. It's a hard question to answer. You're not just your name. You're not just your occupation. You're not just your feelings. You're not just your emotions. You're not just your traits. You're not just the human body that you possess, right? You're a lot more complex than that. So, and I'll say that at the end of the day, give yourself grace, because we're all just trying to fight this fight, and we're all just trying to figure this out, right? So is that it?
Sure is.
That's it for,
That's a wrap.
that is a wrap for GnM Podcast.
And
They can't hear the clapping.
Yeah, exactly.